Hello world of the internet, my name is Simon, and as this is a reaction video, I always want to say you can head over and see Rock Reacts right now. Link in the description below. That is where all this reaction stuff started, me and my man John Denton. So make sure you head over to Rock Reacts, again, link in that description. Go subscribe over there and you can get a barrage of music reactions coming right into your face. Should never say that, always comes across as terrible. Anyway, because we're never going to do album reactions over there, we're bringing album reactions to our own separate channels. That's where we are now. Smash that subscribe button, you know what they say, YouTube, all of that kind of stuff. We've already done a 691, card will pop up there or there, wherever it comes up. You can go listen to that. And today I wanted to do Lil Peep. Now, Lil Peep is someone that I don't know a tremendous about. I know that he's got a crazy dedicated fan base, which is always cool to see. And that, obviously, he passed away, sadly, not all that recently as far as I'm aware. And I've only heard a couple of songs from Lil Peep over on Rock Reacts, but the one thing that I think I always take away from it is that he always feels like an artist that was, I mean, anyone that dies young is taken away too soon. But from a musical point of view, it sounds like all of his best stuff was ahead of him, and unfortunately we're never going to see that. Now when someone does pass away, it always does make their music, or when any kind of artist passes away I should say, it always makes their music, a side of it is a little bit more eerie, a little bit more personal, because obviously, you know, death is such a huge thing to try and take. But it also gives us, I think you can kind of listen to it in a different way. I think almost the messages within it, they hit a little harder, they mean a little more. And also it's your only way to connect to that person who a lot of people did have an affinity with. And now that they're gone, you know, it's through the music, it's through the legacy that they left, how you stay connected to them. So yeah, so we're going to do Come Over When You're Sober Part 1. Again, if you don't know, I've only been into hip-hop since we started Rock Reacts back in March. I'm a brand newbie. I say stupid stuff. It's an education for me as much as anything else. But that's why it'd be great if everyone could jump in the comments. Let me know more about Lil Peep or other artists like him, or where I should go, what I should listen to, what albums I should do. All of that stuff is gold, and it would get 2 thumbs up. So yeah, so I'm playing it off of a device down here, so I keep looking down here. So come over when you're sober, part 1. The first track is Benz Truck. Just do it. I will say, like, the best thing when you do start listening to these artists that you've never heard of before is, again, I mean, you can clearly tell that indie rock or grunge or something like that has had a massive influence on this guy. You know, that brooding guitar, the kind of the sinister feel to it, but also like a melancholy, a sad sort of atmosphere, aura to it. It's the kind of intro that would make you want to listen to any rock song. And it's also why, by the way, if you don't know, metal is my main thing, I'm a big metalhead. But it's also why genres, in many ways, it's going to sound the most pretentious thing ever, but it's also why in many ways genres are pointless. Because they can all merge into one. We can all take something, you know, we can all learn and apply the traits from one genre to another. And straight away, what are we in? I can't remember, 10, 15 seconds? And it's already got that vibe. I mean, again, I don't know a lot about this guy, so please come tell me if I'm wrong. That's what it's all about. It's a reaction. Comments are there to correct me, you know, give me some balance or whatever. But he sounds like a guy that had a lot in his head. And it's incredible that he was able to take all of that and apply it to his music. Because clearly, I mean, this doesn't... There's an atmosphere. I keep saying it, but there's personality to it, right? I mean, we'll know by the end of this album. I think you can tell a Lil Peep song from the first 10 seconds, I would fathom. But the stuff he's talking about, it sounds like he's doing... I mean, just look at the cover art down here, which is kind of almost freaky now. I mean, it looks in the cover art that he's passed away from a drug overdose, which is obviously what happened. So, I mean, again, it's this whole thing about looking back. And again, I'm talking from just what I'm feeling. Maybe he was dealing with a lot of stuff. And I'm big into mental health. I think mental health is one of the most important things in the world. We don't talk about it enough. And some of the best music in the world comes out of people that are struggling. But it's also a back and forth. I mean, look at the Linkin Park guy. I never say his name, I always get it wrong. I know it's Chester. I think it's Beddington, but sometimes they say Beddingfield, which is a different guy in talent. I'm not entirely sure it was Beddington. You could say he had the world on a platter. Successful band, wife, kids, money, fame. It wasn't enough, because sometimes what's in here, it doesn't care about any of that stuff. And I don't know this about Lil Peep, but this is the vibe I get. Don't faze me. All the money that I made now, I never let it change me. Faze me. All the money that I make now, I never let it change me. right there, right? All the money that I make now, never going to let it change me. I think that sums it up. And that could be from an intentional point of view, like I'm not going to let the money change my man, I'm not going to be arrogant, but it also could be, I've got a lot of struggles, money ain't changing that, man. I feel the same.
Brand new bitch, back in the club with the cowboy clip, iced out teeth when I iced out with the limousine team.
There's an eeriness to it. There's an eeriness to it. Like that bass, as I said, I don't may not have come out when I'm recording all of this, but that bass is like, it kind of shifted a bit in the mix. It came a lot more intense than it was, and there's just an eeriness to it. I mean, Benz truck. I guess that's Mercedes Benz truck. I don't know. Again, I'm assuming that's what it means. Yeah, just again, eerie is my big word. I think you come away with that, and I think you feel something, right? You may not necessarily like the song. I actually did. I thought it was a pretty good song. Maybe not something I will listen to when I'm walking along the street. Something I think you've got to be a bit more introspective with, and something you've got to let wash over you and sort of piece together the messages. But sometimes you hear artists, right, and you don't really know why they're a success. Given that's track one off, I believe, of his debut album, I can kind of see why he spoke to a lot of people. I'm going to repeat myself a lot in these reactions, but again, because they're reacting, they're coming out, and a lot of stuff's going to be the same. Let's move on. Save that shit. Some of these songs I have heard over on Rock Reacts. I don't remember. I've got a bad brain, but I'll let you know as soon as they start. But yeah, save that shit. I can't, honestly, I thought I'd heard this before. Even if I have, I've forgotten it. How I've forgotten it, I don't know. Because that guitar with the reverb and the echo, I would like that in a metal song. So I'm not going to like it, not going to like his. That's just brilliant. I mean, that is a way to get me an entirely. Again, it's just got a feel to it that for some reason makes you sit up and take notes. Like it gets you in your gut and you're like, what is that?
For my life, can't say that, girl. Don't tell me you can say that shit. All she want is payback for the way I always play that shit. Fuck, cause I could make you rich. I could make you this, baby. I could make.
Yeah, we did do this on Rock Reacts. Now I remember. How I forgot that opening, I don't know. I guess because you listen to so much songs, but yeah, I don't even know what he's singing about. I mean, obviously something to do with the relationship going wrong or some kind of struggles in that kind of sense. But in terms of the music, and again, the atmosphere is going to be my big word that I underline. In terms of atmosphere, I mean, he really knows how to create, this around his songs. It feels like more than the sum of its parts. Obviously, it's just his voice and production and guitars and whatever else. But it feels like it's bigger, right? It feels like you can almost stick your hand through it and, it would get caught in something. And that's a real talent to have, and it's a real skill. It's very impressive.
Growing sick of this, and I don't wanna make you sad. The motherfuckers, I could make you rich.
I may be well off base here too, but obviously he's singing about, take me back. So clear, again, I think a relationship's gone wrong. I'm going to sound crazy here, but sometimes in situations when you break up and you're emotional, you're desperate to get anybody back. I don't know whether it's kind of like a thing where he's going, look, I'm rich, I'm famous. If you come back, I'll give you everything you want. I take care of you. And we've all been in those situations. I mean, not all of us have been able to say that because we're not rich. But maybe he thinks that's like a quality he has that maybe somebody else hasn't had, and he's willing, to offer it. I don't know. That's a crazy theory by me. I don't know, but it's definitely a song about heartbreak. And if nothing else, he's captured that in the sound that he's tried to create.
Can't say that, girl. Don't tell me you can say that shit. All she want is payback for the way I always play that shit. I could make you this, baby. I could make you that. I could take you there, but baby, you are.
The fact that guitar, you kind of lose the guitar after the intro where it's really prominent. So you got the song, obviously, everything else comes in, but my ear just caught it. That guitar, continues to play throughout. And actually, it sounds a bit cheesy, but it's a sad guitar, right? They're minor notes. It's meant to hit you in the heart. The fact that plays just subtly under the production. Yeah.
Growing sick of this, and I don't wanna make you sad. Do I make you scared, baby? Won't you take me back? Do I make you scared, baby? Won't you take me back?
So that bass, again, it came in at the end. He done the first song as well. Just big fucking bass hits. you know, he's a big fan. I know this from the couple of songs we've heard over on Rock Reacts. Like, he's a big fan of taking phrases and bars and repeating them throughout a song. But he's smart because, I mean, that song was what? I mean, that was 3 minutes 38 or 48, which is quite long for a Lil Peep song. But usually, I know this album in total is only 29 minutes. And that's why it works. And I think that's kind of part of being a smart musician is it's really hard to edit yourself when you're in any sort of, you know, entertainment business or when you're, you know, directly involved. And that's especially true in music because the human ear, music's crazy, right? Because what I may like, you may not like. But the fact that he kind of understands, well, even if he really likes a certain passage, he's going to try and repeat it. He understands he can't do it for too long because that will, you know, the first time you hear something is more powerful, and then there's the law of diminishing returns. So in that sense, he's a fascinating artist. I'm not sure what genre he even fits into. He kind of picks and chooses, and he's very unique, he's very original. And again, he just creates this unsettling nature around all of his stuff. I mean, yeah, that was disturbing. I think it was meant to be disturbing from a guy that's clearly gone through a heartache, wants to get this girl back, struggling, doesn't know what to do, doesn't know where to turn. And the fact he was able to take that and put it into a song, hardest thing in the world to do. You know, you can have the saddest beat in the world, but if you can't sing over it and make it sound like you're sad, then the whole illusion falls apart anyway. It's not even an illusion, it's real in this sense. I mean, that's 2 tracks in. How many we got to go? There's only 7 tracks on the whole thing. But yeah, genuinely, I said in the last one, I'll say it again, I probably said in a lot of them, but albums should be listened to for me. I understand we're living in the SoundCloud, the Spotify generation, but I like listening to an album like I'd read a book, track 1 to track, whatever the last track is. And so far I'm 2 in, and I get the impression again of a guy who, his music is his release, is his saviour, is his gift, whatever, and he's going to, you know, pour himself into that. And he's done that in 2 tracks. Right, track 3, Awful Things. Start with guitar again. Again, it's that, I think we may have said this over on Rock Reacts, Nirvana-esque. That's almost like a Foo Fighters little, you know, dinky dink they would do at the start of one of their songs. And the fact that he brings all that in to whatever style he's trying to create, all the time in the world for it. I didn't even listen to the lyrics then, and I did. Obviously, you know, she likes attention. She makes it obvious for me. Clearly, again, someone in his life that he cares about, but maybe struggling with their need for attention. But it's everything underneath that really gets me there. There was a guitar, there was symphony, there was some form of production as well, just bringing it all together. And when I actually tuned into that, again, it just got me as music does sometimes. It's still going on when I paused it. It's just the amount of layers he's able to create. This is really, really well-produced stuff. I don't know whether that's down to Lil Peep or if he's working with other people. I'm sure he is. But either way, the fact that I'm sure he had final say on it, just the way the orchestra came in, it's really, really powerful stuff. Like, it really, really is. And again, I think he's utterly unique compared to anybody else I listen to. And it's not hard, it's not surprising that he had this really dedicated fan base. Because I imagine he had a distinct message, and if you understand that message, you could tap into it and be like, yeah, this guy's talking to me. And when you have someone like that, it kind of makes you feel a little bit better too, because you feel less alone in the world. And that's what it's all about.
It's just the 2 of us. It's just the 2 of us tonight. Burn me. I get it, girl. I get it, girl. Burn me, tell it, girl. I'm not the one. Bother me.
The fact he can sing that direct, I think I've said this before again, but the fact he sings like this with his words, it's like a punch in the face. And we've all gone through emotional heartache. And again, a lot of the time we turn to music to try and get through that, because artists, musicians are really good at summing that up. Sometimes though with pop music, you just get stuff like, oh, my heart's broken, doesn't that suck? And maybe some flowery language, and that can work. But because he's so direct with it, I don't know, it just makes it different. It makes it different, it makes it a bit more real, a bit more honest, and maybe something you can connect with a bit more as well. Because he's not mucking around, you know, there's no, again, he's not trying to be poetic with his words. And I almost think to a certain extent, if he tried to be poetic, it wouldn't be as good, or at least wouldn't suit him as well. And the fact that he knew that and was mature enough to then bring that all across, like I said, all these 3 songs have there's a thread running through them. We did 6ix9ine album, as I mentioned. That was like, throw stuff at the wall and see what works. Lil Peep obviously has an idea of what he wanted to get out when this album. Now that I think about it, the fact that it is called Come Over When You're Sober, maybe, I mean, it seems obvious now, but this is the beauty. It's like when you read a book. Maybe that was the problem. He's talking about her singing, her wanting attention, right? Maybe she struggled with alcohol, and as much as he loved this girl, he realized he couldn't be with her because it was just too much. Who knows? I'm probably making shit up.
Carry me away, burn me down till there's nothing left. I would scream your name. Bother me, tell me off of it. You know I love it when you move that on me. Love it when you do that on me.
And then there's that weirdness to finish it off. Like, it's almost, it's like paradoxical to the rest of the song to finish it on the almost like uncomfortable. I mean, the whole song was uncomfortable, but that was almost a horror movie kind of atmospheric noise. I think I need to do more reading about Lil Peep. Again, I didn't want to read too much because I didn't want to give too much away. It's much better to kind of come to these things with a fresher perspective as possible. But yeah, he sounds like a really, really deep dude. And the fact he was so young as well, again, I stand by it. I really do think down the line we would have got something else from him that, maybe was a bit more... accessible is the wrong word, but maybe spoke to even more people just because he became an even bigger master of his craft. Let's move on. You said, see what we've got on. Oh, the bass! I mean, that's a Nirvana start. It just is. Go check out some of Nirvana. That is Nirvana bass sound. There's no way he wasn't inspired by him. And fair play to him. I like that.
Away from you takes time and pain, and I don't even want to. So I'll get high all week without you, popping pills, thank you. Oh, she didn't play a part to break you. Oh.
There's a lot going on. For starters, we've got the whole thing where it sounds like they're away from each other. Again, maybe they're broken up and he's thinking about doing drugs to get to the pain he's suffering, which we understand. Addiction is a real thing. It fucking sucks. And when it gets his claws in you, it gets his claws in you. But then the music changes from nowhere. There's like a proper 90-degree turn or a 180 turn and we're going off in a different direction. It's got a bit of a happier feel, but then, hang on, one sec.
She did too.
That's right, and then there seems to be like a third party involved in this, who's maybe dragged this significant other, whoever this person he's singing about, down. Like, you're getting a lot of information. We're only 1 minute 19 into a song that's called You Said. Do you know what I mean? Like, again, layers. Layers is the thing I'm taking away from here. It's not just what you hear, it's not just what he's saying, it's the other things you can kind of piece together from it. And the album title, I don't think I've ever had this with an album before. I'm sure I have. But the album title now has even more significance than it me before I started. And that's incredible. Genuinely incredible.
You, popping pills, thinking about you. Oh, she did have a heart to love you. Oh, she did have a heart to... Sometimes life gets fucked up. That's why we get fucked up. I can still feel your touch. I still...
I mean, the change right there, was it? Sometimes life gets fucked up, that's why we get fucked up. I can still feel your touch. I mean, there's no point in telling otherwise. Definitely struggling with the loss of somebody or a breakup or something. Definitely using the temptations, I guess, in life to try and get through another day. The change up in songs is much different to the other ones. Like, he's going completely against the wash, rinse, repeat thing I mentioned in the other songs here. And we've changed it up twice quite significantly. And each time I feel like it's paced the song out a little bit better. So, yeah.
That's why we get fucked up. I can still feel your touch. I still do those things. You would give me you. Lock me in your room. Don't tell me the truth. Make drugs. Sometimes life gets fucked up.
Again, no one's endings where just noise almost. That was probably the most interesting track I'd say he's done so far. I mean, just over halfway through the album. I don't know what else I could say about it really that I haven't already said. A deep dude who clearly had a lot on his head. which sucks, but the fact he was able to at least put this down on record, whatever you want to call it these days. Right, Better Off Dying in brackets, which is, again, quite intense.
Chains on shining, you can see me riding. Cocaine lined up, secrets that I'm hiding. You don't wanna find no flying, you don't wanna cry now, better off dying. Baby, I'ma dive in, I'll put the time in.
It's a really weird album, this, and I mean that in a positive way, in the sense we had the first 4 tracks, which again, kind of, like I said, had a theme, 3 tracks I should say, I'm going to look up, but yeah, the first 3 tracks, which kind of had a thread running through it. You then move into You Said, which feels very different, like it changes up now. We kind of got the same feel as those first 3 tracks again. Thematically, it's the same. Still a good song. There's not a bad song I've heard on this so far. I like it when an artist knows their sound and is able to replicate that almost, not on a whim, it sounds like it's easy, it's not. But it's just fascinating from an album perspective how so much this changes.
We gonna make it. We gonna make it. Baby, I'll die, make it. I gonna make it.
Again, it's one of those things where, this came out obviously when he was still alive, at least I assume it did, correct me if I'm wrong. But the fact that it's called Better Off Dying, the fact that he's just saying over and over again, we're not going to make it, I'm not going to make it. The fact that he has passed away, I think makes that a bit more on the nose, a bit more difficult to hear maybe, if you're a sort of a big fan or you're with him the whole time. And it's more poignant than it would have been otherwise, obviously. It makes it more of an incredible lyric. Someone that was just putting himself out there. And I don't know, you'd have to tell me, maybe people didn't realise how much so at the time before the things happened. Blink 182 at the end there. He did change it up a bit at the end. He kind of surprised me with that last bit. His use of guitars is great. I don't know if we call this hip-hop or not. We'll call it hip-hop for my lack of knowledge. But his use of guitars is great. It really is. Blink 182, if probably intentional, I'm sure that he's probably a fan of all that kind of music, of that punky rock stuff. And again, he just brought it across to his own. That one, I imagine, is tough for a lot of Lil Peep fans to listen to. That's almost like, well, you know what I'm saying. Let's do 2 more, the Brightside. There's the guitar again. A pop punky guitar. Yeah. Nice.
Baby, it's alright, you'll be fine. As long as you're mine. Take a look at the sign. It gets for sure.
I mean, the way it came back in, I don't know if it's just my ear or not, but it sounded like there was more to it, or at least sort of a bigger vibe with the production. Again, I think he's really, really good at, again, cottoning on to riffs, we'll call them, and then reutilising them throughout a song. This one has a bit of a perkier beat. I guess that makes sense because it's all Mr. Brightside. I still think you can hear his pain all over it. I think that's kind of just etched into his being during the recording of this album. I'll be intrigued to hear what the last song is. I think that may tie this all together in a little bow. It's alright, you'll be fine. Baby, it's alright, you'll be fine. Fine, but it's fine. I'll be fine. I love that guitar, that bow, 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 bow. Just like proper chord changes, but picking it down and down. The best rock bands do that, and there ain't nothing wrong with taking things that work and throwing them in here. It's interesting that people are saying, I can't really do that lyric, but people are telling me not to try. I'm going to get high, obviously. I mean, I assume that trying to get back with this girl who maybe is a bad influence on him. I don't know. That's one for the comments. I will go look after this, but again, just throwing it out there. I just picked out, he said, look at the bright side. And because the way, it's not his vocal, right? It's a vocal that's kind of, it's been given a different edit, different production to make it sound different. Maybe that's what his mates are telling him, right? Look at the bright side, X, Y, Z. Again, pulling at straws here. But that's what happens. Your mates try and tell you, don't worry about it. But in your head and your heart, you're like, no, but whatever. That's what I want. I tell you, it's an album where I think you can go back through it a few times and pick up, or loads of times, and get something different each time. He's far more, I knew he was a deep dude, but he's far more deep and introspective, and again, words I've used 1,000 times throughout this video than I realised. And this is why I think it's so good to go through albums from track A to track Z, because you pick up on little things, and you pick up on nuances, and you pick up on feelings and emotions, and you get a better idea of where somebody is at this point in their life. And if someone asked me right now, where was this dude at this point in his life, I would say he's going through a lot of shit, and the way he gets through it is by making music out of it. One track to go, it's called Problems. I can only imagine. Start songs off well. There's chords that make you go, what's that? What's that?
Spend a lot of time in the background. You know I spend a lot of time in the background. Every time that what the devil offer, I got nothing to lose. I got nothing to lose.
I mean, it's got to be a bad influence, right? Talking about coming around and doing pills and passing out, selling yourself to the devil. Poof. I mean, again, it's like a diary entry. I said this with XXX. I can never pronounce the second part of his name, but he always used to sound like he wrote little letters, and this sounds exactly the same. I imagine they did that song together, so absolutely, friends, and probably inspired by the same kind of people. And again, it's like a little letter. It's like a diary entry from a dude who was trying to get a lot of stuff out. I imagine hoping to find some kind of solace in all of this, which is hard, which is really hardest thing in the world. The fact he can make such beautiful music at the other end is certainly a plus, but ultimately it would have been preferred from my end, talking about normal human beings, if he could have found again peace in his own head.
Out of my past now, I remember all the shit from the past now. Took a pill and we passed out. I got nothing to lose. I got nothing to lose.
I don't know what it was like at the time. When did it come out? Last year, right? Last year. I don't know when he died compared to when this came out. I do know that given all the information I have, having that kind of ending with that distorted guitar, that sort of off-key guitar, and just that sort of ambient, freaky nature to the end of it, that's an amazing album. There's a lot to that. I don't know how I would have felt about it if I'd listened to it when it came out, but I'm just going what I do now. I think that's, again, I do think his songs would have become more dynamic maybe as he went on, but in terms of an album that speaks to somebody that was clearly going through some stuff, I think that on a piece of paper, or whatever you want to call it, coming out is pretty powerful stuff. And I'm glad that I was able to get to a point where it actually made sense to me, because certainly if I'd done it a year ago, it wouldn't have done. So there it is, reaction to Lil Peep's, I've got the name already, Come Over When You're Sober, part 1. We'll actually do more stuff over the channel. Let me know in the comments below what you want to do. Like, share, subscribe. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, SimonMiller316. That was gibberish. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at SimonMiller316. Again, go subscribe to Rock Reacts. And yeah, we'll do more. Try and do one a week at least. Look, I'm up for changing my brain about all this music stuff. I find it fascinating. Love doing it on Rock Reacts. Love doing full albums over here. Get even more different perspective. And there's so much we can do. So let me know. Thanks very much for watching. And yeah, I'll see you soon.